What did we think of the second part? Like,
I have a bone to pick in the very first part of this section.
okay.
And it's when she brings her brother to that, I don't even remember what it was, some type of event.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes. And she is nervous about bringing her brother because their brother have the darker skin and they're trying to hide their secret.
Mm-hmm.
But the mom was trying to push him to go to have job opportunities when she wanted to bring her sisters who were lighter skinned. But the mom is the one that's so gung-ho about them hiding their secret. But she wants the brother to go to the function.
Do you think the mom like money hungry, like, or status hungry?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was strange.
I agree.
Maybe the mom like thinks that Portuguese grandma is just going to be accepted and doesn't realize like how much scrutiny she does get from some people.
I think what you said about like the mom really prioritizing like status and wealth and success like maybe clouded her judgment a little bit, and that she was like, oh, like this is a great opportunity for him too, and that like maybe it's she has like kind of made some missteps before. Like Belle says that like her mom thinks that she should like not like blend in and not stand out, but like it actually like is not the best strategy. So the mom doesn't always know practically what works. So
yeah,
it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Plus, maybe she's all, finding out about her husband made her a little
Richard.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe she's not thinking clearly.
Yeah, because then I mean, bringing in like the family, the fact that the uncle like doesn't come by because she basically doesn't want to be seen with him. I mean, shows that she understands it, but yeah, she's probably just not thinking clearly.
I feel sad on that part.
Yeah.
I still have I'm thinking I think the story so far is like pretty interesting. I like learning about all these different like as she's progressing in her career, and I think it's pretty interesting, but I still feel like I have a little bit like I don't totally know what Belle is about. And maybe again that's the point, because she doesn't even know that like she's living a lie in a way. But like I don't always get like a clear sense of her wants, and like I don't know, like it's a little bit, she doesn't have like a lot of characterization. I feel like she's like, we know she's really really good at her job, and we know that she is like attracted to older men. and we know that she I think like her main trait is like she really wants to be successful, and like she loves her job and all of that. But I don't feel like we get a lot about like what's going on in her head really. And I feel like that's something that I'm kind of lacking in this book, but I still think it's engaging and it's interesting, and like I want to know what happens next. And I just wonder if that's like on purpose, like maybe historically there's only so much they knew about her and they don't want to take like creative license or something. But I don't know, I feel like there's a little bit lacking with her.
I agree with that.
How old is Bernard? Did anybody catch that?
I feel like
she said 2 decades more. Yeah.
Yeah, because he like wrote those books and all that stuff. So obviously he's older, but like how old? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they said 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Older.
Yeah, I feel like so far from the first section and this section, I'm like going in a roller coaster where I'm like, yeah, it's interesting, and then there's too much history and stuff that just doesn't catch my attention, like all these the Caxton and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, cool, but I'm not as into it. So I kind of get, yeah, that's where I kind of like doze off and I'm not paying attention. But then something catches my attention and I'm like, okay, cool. But I don't know. I feel like I'm not a big fan of her as a character based off, and I think it's mostly because she's over here thinking of the little glimpse that we get of her thoughts are about like, oh, well, this guy's married, and then she's like, wait, we had a moment, and it's always like,
Yes,
wait,
sudden.
huh?
She's sudden.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and I'm just like, oh God, like, okay, maybe she just hasn't been with someone, and she just that's what she's craving, but at the same time, I'm like, yes, she's doing her job and all that, stuff, but I feel like it's mostly like, oh my goodness, this man is looking at me. Is he flirting with me? He's married. I don't know. I don't
Didn't she say she's never been kissed?
Oh yeah, that was her first
Yeah.
kiss. Yeah. But
What do you think that JP Morgan's gonna think if he knew she was like kissing some man? I feel like he'd be so jealous.
yeah, I just imagine these old men just like, what? And she's so young. Like, ugh.
Yeah, like I think if it was someone her age, like, oh, I'm gonna get married,
Mhm.
but I'll still work for you. I don't know. I think he'd be more understanding, but like another old man.
And a rival in some ways
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, I noticed something small that was bugging me about like how this. I do like the history of this book, and I like the description of the art and the statues and everything and the art movements. But the Caxton that's like so big on JP's list, I'm pretty sure there's like a typo in how that's written. So I was like, oh, that's funny, because the book is La Mort d'Arthur, which is like the death of Arthur, like King Arthur from the Knights of the Round Table. So then I'm pretty sure there needs to be a comma. So then when I read it, it's bothering me that it's like, I think it should be like the bottom one, but I could be wrong. Like maybe that was permissible back then, but it needs the apostrophe. Because it's Arthur, not Darthur. That's not his name.
I
So that kind of like made it like a little bit like invalid for me, because I was like, well, if it is a mistake and it's like this big thing, in the book, like how accurate is like the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it is accurate, but that was something. I feel like I agree with what you're saying about how like she doesn't have that much characterization, and I like the story. I like, oh, like what's gonna happen next. I feel like it's suspenseful at times, but I am not really liking how she's like, oh yeah, I just have to flirt with everyone and la la la. I'm just kind of like getting a little bit annoyed with that personally. And I'm just wondering where it will go, because I feel like that she could find herself in a situation that would be like, could go like wrong or something. I feel like she's just manipulating a lot, and I know that she has to do it for her success and the success of her family, but I feel like it's kind of like a very fine line that she's walking on, where it's like actually like being deceitful, or is she just kind of like working the crowd, I guess.
I also find it kind of repetitive. You guys feel like that?
Yeah,
Like
a little bit.
it's like the art or the books, whatever they're trying to find, and then it's her flirting with old men, and then it's her trying to disguise herself. But there's no like, I wonder if she, like, her true identity is going to come out sooner than later, then that's kind of like the big thing that's going to happen. Or what? Because I just,
Yeah, and they
Not a lot of
talked a lot about,
conflict, really.
yeah, and they talked a lot about how she thinks she can't have children because that'll like out her. So I'm worried she's gonna get with Bernard and get pregnant.
that would be spicy.
Hopefully dad will come back to, like, maybe that will be like a different loop that it could take.
Maybe this is also like where you run into issues if you're writing historical fiction, where you're writing about a real person. where I
Mhm.
mean a lot of people's lives are boring or like repetitive. Like a lot of people's lives like are not just full of art story arcs and like
Mhm.
conflict. And so she's, I guess the author is walking a fine line between like what really happened and then trying to provide a good story and tell
Mhm.
us about this character. But maybe there wasn't a lot of drama and conflict, I guess.
Mhm.
That's true.
Well, there's two authors too.
Yes.
Mm.
I was gonna look into that because like I'm kind of confused how that happens. I don't think I've read a book where they do that. Like does one of them write it, the other one reviews and adds more? Do they just work together and like come up
Maybe it's like it's in
together?
Verity, where one's in a coma and the other one's in.
Oh my god.
Or Misery.
That's funny. I mean sad, but
I wonder if one did like more research and one like did the novel, because I feel like the tone is pretty consistent throughout. Because if someone did one chapter and then someone else did another chapter, I feel like there would
be able
be
to.
a mismatch.
Huh. That's true. Someone focus on the facts.
Let me flip through.
Oh wait, no.
Do you think the siblings will get upset if they find out like what happened with the dad, because the Farfell's the only one that knows, and the mom?
I feel like they would. I don't know if they're gonna find that.
Maybe the dad will come back to visit and it'll cause like a family drama or something.
I feel like the possibility of the dad actually coming back into the family, and not necessarily like, hey guys, I'm your dad, I'm back. More just like actually appearing in the novel, might happen because they brought him up and they're like, oh yeah, he's here. Maybe towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, like maybe he'll start doing his political stuff and they'll notice like how similar they look, and his last name's Greener and yours is Green.
Oh.
Ooh.
That would be, especially because I feel like she's getting well known from like Italy and all these other places. So I feel like that could be a possibility.
She could make an enemy of like an auctioneer, even though like she flirts with him and everything. Like that doesn't mean they're not going to try to plot to take her down, especially because they're probably salty that she's a woman and she's outdoing them.
I'm curious about the women's rights stuff too, because I know it's kind of like Paula said, like kind of what's going on in her head, what's her goals, because she clearly wants to like outdo these men. Her competition, like knows she has to outsmart them, but then like when they're like, oh, you're a role model for the women's movement, she was like shocked about that.
That's another thing I don't like about the book so far, is it's very woman against woman kind of. Like with the JP Morgan's daughter and the daughter's they're not married, partner, and the mom too, just being kind of toxic a little bit towards her daughter. But then she's like in love with these older men, but the authors aren't painting the men as like horrible people, which I kind of think they're not horrible, but they're not as good as she's having them be in the book.
Yeah,
they're not like the author's not. I mean, it's hard for a novel like this, I guess, but the author's not like framing it in a way where you're like we're all noticing these things, but the book isn't seeming to like notice kind of that there's a weird kind of pattern here.
Yeah.
Where she's kind of like discounting other women almost and like aligning herself in this like world of these older men, art collector people. and she's like ignoring this women's rights movement that's like happening at the same time, and that's fine. Like maybe she wasn't interested in it, but it's just interesting that she was like this woman of power that didn't seem to care that much about all of that. And maybe she wasn't, because she was focused on her own deception and her own needs, and she just like didn't concern herself with that because she had to stay focused on her lie. But yeah, I guess I feel like there's not a lot of internal dialogue about things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that might be more interesting, you know.
I feel like maybe even if they invite her to be part of the women's suffrage movement, I don't know if she will choose to get involved because she might think it's too big of a risk, or because she's already doing well, she might say like, well, I just need to focus on myself because it affects my family. Maybe that will cause more drama with the women, because people will say like, well, why don't you want to be involved, you know? Or maybe she'll just say like, oh, I have to like, just my employer is like my main priority. But I do feel like it's kind of like interesting how she works so hard to attain that status, but you know, she's not helping to bring more people to that status as well, or more women to that status.
Because she kept saying how Anne, is that the daughter's name, looks so frumpy in all her clothes. I'm like, well,
That's how she wants to dress.
I don't think she has like any friends. And again, it might just be because of her whole like living a lie thing, but that's not even brought up either. Like, wouldn't she be really lonely? Maybe she's not. I don't know.
I thought she'd be closer with her sisters, but it doesn't really seem.
They're like barely in it.
Yeah, they don't mention that, and I didn't realize that, but I don't think she's really encountered women or talked to them, besides like maybe the wife. But it was more like the wife was interrupting her and Bernard, and she's like, you know, it wasn't more like, oh hey, we're having a conversation and trying to get to know you kind of thing. And I think maybe that's part of her trying to hide her identity, how it was mentioned. But that's sad. I'm a social person and I can't be by myself for too long. I can't imagine. Maybe she just is that into the books and all that stuff, and maybe she's happy that way. But I don't think as humans, one person can be okay by themselves for too long.
Do you think it's the mom's influence too? I feel like I remember reading at the beginning that they were trying to talk about the ball or something, and the mom made her study or didn't want them to be talking about it or something. Maybe it's like the mom as well.
Oh, that's true.
The mom is controlling.
The mom is controlling.
I think that also makes her susceptible to people like Bernard, because she's like, I felt seen for the first time ever. I felt understood. Well, it's because she doesn't have anyone to confide in, really, other than like maybe her siblings who know her secret, or her mom, but that's not like a real confidant. So then when someone like kind of makes her feel seen or understood, she just like, it's like a revelation to her, because she's never like been able to be open with anyone.
Yeah.
Ever.
She's always had to work and be like thinking about how to advance herself or thinking how to take care of everyone else, especially because I think she's the oldest sibling. So, you know, it makes sense. It's like someone showing interest in her possibly for the first time romantically, besides JP. And every time now it says they're going to kiss, I think of that picture and I'm like, no. But I feel like, you know, it could be, I think, you know, like people like to share, people like to be listened to, but she's probably never been listened to. So she probably has like some issues going on there.
Which I feel like maybe in that way she's like her dad, how the dad was always like super activist and political and like equality, and the mom was like, you know, they were having issues there. And I think maybe she's super focused on her job and the library and that's all, you know, that she does, and everything else is kind of like, I don't know.
She needs work-life balance.
Yeah.
In case you're worried that Bernard looks like JP Morgan, this is what he looks like. So a little better.
he looks all right.
A little better than JP Morgan. So moving on up.
Showing us
swag with that pose.
a little mustache.
Yeah. I wonder what she does on weekends, because I assume she has weekends off, but maybe she just studies her Latin.
Probably.
Seems like a workaholic. I feel like she works on weekends.
Mm-hmm. She probably plans her outfits or something. I feel like that's the only time that I see like the sisters being mentioned, going back to that, like, oh, like they're helping me find what to wear or something to the next event.
I feel like there's going to be some activism because they say she's like her dad, but yeah, she hasn't done anything so far. So I don't know if that is going to come out and will that cause problems or not.
I wonder how her
What
boss
is Kim?
will think of it, because he got so enraged with her making that comment on the Matisse. And how it came out in the newspaper.
Yeah, at first when that happened, I thought, because remember she said she was in the street and someone gave her like a piece of paper or something.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought like, oh, maybe they photographed that and they thought it was like a romantic connection or something.
Yeah.
And then it was the modern art.
Yeah, for that section where he was like, remember, it's my name. And I'm just like, here we go again with that little attitude. Like, it's slowly getting to how it was with that man when she first met him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's gonna explode on her.
Yeah. Agree.
Will it be because he finds out that she's not white? Because he does that moment where they were talking about Bernard and that he was a Jew, and then he's like, oh, that was, they shouldn't be doing that. I was like, oh shoot. And then obviously Bernard was all like, in this red party, we're all the same, we're all humans and blah blah blah. So I was like, JP Morgan is not gonna be okay with it. Bernard would be, but JP Morgan is your boss, so I'm like, conflict.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I even wonder, and this is just speculation, I wonder if JP Morgan found out and he would be like the kind of person that would be like, oh, but you're okay. Like, you're not like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he would be the kind of person that like maybe would be okay with it, but would be okay with it because he doesn't view her like his stereotypes of other people, I feel like.
Because he already got to know her and it's to his benefit. And obviously, as a complete stranger, you're just like, no, they're all the same. Yeah, I can see that.
He wouldn't want the scandal associated to if it were to be found out, and he wants her skill and knowledge to continue advancing his library too. So I mean, he has in a way a lot invested in her.
Yeah.
I wonder what the research process was like for this.
I know, I want to read more about the authors, but I don't want any spoilers.
I haven't touched my phone for that stuff.
I know. I looked up Bernard and then it told me too much.
Oh no.
Not the whole story, just more so
Okay.
their like how long it lasts. So now I know. I mean, I don't know fully, but it kind of says.
That's
That's what I'm gonna say. But he's better looking than JP Morgan.
yeah.
Closer to her age.
Yeah.
20-year difference.
Slightly closer.
Not 40.
Yeah.
Imagine her mom finds out, she'd probably be tripped. It's kind of funny.
mom would probably be, I don't know what her mom really thinks, but maybe her mom, like Belle seems to think that there's no way that she could ever have children or marry someone, but maybe the mom would be for it in some way. Like mom would be like, yeah, you should marry a white man and like really make it official. I don't know.
It's interesting how they have that open relationship, and the stepdaughter just mentions it to Belle kind of like super casually. Do you think Bernard was like, yo, like, let me make sure she knows because I felt something over her? That's silly. Because he doesn't seem surprised when Belle says, like, oh yeah, your stepdaughter told me. This is crazy.
That's also just like an interesting thing to bring up. I don't know.
Yeah.
That is. Maybe she was trying to show that her family was very progressive and be like, look at us, we're different. But I feel like in those times that would be very scandalous. And I don't think they would want to, talk about it. It's very interesting. I wonder if that actually happened or if this was added for the story. So we can know that, oh, hey, it's an open relationship.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And isn't she the one who keeps going on about her race too?
Yeah. That was
Maybe
kind of.
she finds out.
You mean J.P. Morgan's daughter? This was Berenson's daughter.
Yeah, was she kind of going? Was it her? Yeah, was it Berenson's daughter or was it the interior designer? Or both who were kind of talking about her? Like, where are you from?
I thought that was J.P. Morgan's daughter's friend, like, well, lover.
Oh,
Wasn't she the one? Like
With
at the
Elise,
opera or whatever?
Yeah, and then she had to say like, oh, I ignore what I hear about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely some mean girl stuff in this book.
Yeah.
She said, don't believe everything you hear, or something like that. Just like a classic line.
Yeah.
And then Branston's gonna go to Italy, so you know how like the dates are at the beginning of the chapter. I keep like flipping back, so I'm like, I need to know how much time has passed because I feel like that helps give context. So I wonder like how long he'll be gone, if they will have letters, if the letters will be inserted in the books, kind of like some other things that we read, or is it just like because of the time she won't know much about him, and maybe she'll find someone else to flirt with. I don't know.
Another old man.
Another old man.
I mean, to be fair, I do think she actually has like some bad daddy issues, but also to be fair, in that world, it probably is a lot of old men that she is meeting. But I also think she has daddy issues. Just my opinion.
It was probably more socially acceptable to marry someone older than you two back then, is what I'm imagining.
Yeah, and in her situation, she is one of the only women who's actually doing all this, so I get it, but still it's like weird. Weird.
But she kind of reminds me of the character Stella from The Vanishing Half for sure too. I feel it's just like so much angst. Or so much like, not so much angst, so much like mystery about like who the person really is because they've hidden themselves for so long, pretty much an entire lifetime.
Did we say we were going to divide this into 5? I can't remember.
I can't remember. Let me see the little calendar.
I think we're gonna see how it went.
Yeah, because
2 more Wednesdays in January.
we have 2 more. but we have like, we just reached the half. Well, yeah, I think it can work. So we have 320 and we're at 160, so it's completely half.
Yeah, 324 or no? Oh no, that's the epilogue. Does the epilogue count? I mean, it's only 2 pages.
I think so.
Yeah, 324 to 162. That's about
80.
I can't do math right now, sorry.
I think it is.
I think that's about the halfway point.
I think we're gonna do it in 2. So 2 more meetings. Next meeting, you bring a book. I remember this time.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2 more of this book. So the next section is chapter 20 to, is that a lot? Oh no. 31. So don't read 32. Read 31.
20 to 31. Don't read 32.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That would be, yeah. And then I'm skipping the author's notes and the historical note, which I'm still gonna read, but we don't have to include it on there.
Not 32.
Yeah,
Sweet.
we'll see. So far, it's an okay book. Cool facts, but also like I could be okay without reading it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds kind of mean, but
I like it, but I know I like historical fiction.
yeah, yeah, I don't.
So I'm like, ooh, this is fun.
I don't mind it.
I
too.
like it, but I don't love the main character so far. So
Yeah.
that's kind of.
It's
Yeah,
good to switch it up too.
What was that?
I'm like, it's good to switch it up too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for historical fiction, it's good. I'm into it.
I just find myself wanting to research if it's real, but I know I need
Not
to.
until the end.
Yeah.
Write all the notes on the side and then do it at the end.
I know.
Let's research that.
Although it was kind of cool. Darlene, after the last meeting, was telling me about the Morgan Library, and we were like, wait, we went to the 2017 when we were in New York, but we didn't. It was the New York Public Library, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, we were there, but it wasn't.
Has anyone been to the Met in New York?
Yep. I've been when I was a kid, but I can't tell you what I saw.
I think I went the year after you, Judith, to New York, and
Yeah.
when I walked through the Met, we spent like a good 4 hours in there, and we didn't get through half of what was in there. It was crazy, but it was really amazing.
Yeah, we only did like one floor where we walked up, did a little loop, and back down. We're trying to fit like 10 museums in one day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
10, girl.
Yeah. Girl, my feet were bleeding. Like they were bad.
I walked 14 miles that day.
Oh my god.
It was we prioritized the Natural History Museum and the Met. I wanted to see natural history for the dinosaur fossils, but the Met we went to the day before our friend George arrived because he wasn't as interested in the art stuff. And so me and Claudia like right from like we saw like the map. Okay, we voted here, skip that, go to this, and we were just like going so fast. That's so funny.
Yeah.
I would have a problem because I have a big issue in art museums where I love art museums and like I want to see all the paintings. So good luck to me.
Yeah.
That again.
You have to go for a whole month.
I know, right?
Every day a different little section.
Well, they do multiple day passes.
Yeah, you need multiple days.
Yeah, like
probably.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
I could do it in 5 minutes. I'll be in and out.
I feel like I go with that mentality. I'd be like, I won't spend that much time. And then, I just keep going and hours pass. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still
I
here.
love museums.
Well, see you next week for the third section. Bring your book if you want to suggest one, and we'll vote the following week or that week, the end of that week. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, have a good night.
Night.
Good
Stay
night.
safe. Get your booster.
Yeah.
I got mine
Boost.
yesterday.
Oh,
I'm feeling like
How are you
shit
feeling?
all day.
Yeah.
I've been like super tired. Like my arm hurts really bad. I had a headache in the morning and I was like getting like mad vertigo. Oh, no.
That's
I
why.
had it for like 4 days.
4 days.
My arm.
My arm hurt for like an entire week with the
For this-
booster, not
for
with
the
the other
third-
ones, but
Yeah.
with the booster. My arm really hurt.
It's
Yeah.
so
Y'all don't
hard.
scare me.
But then you're fine.
it's for your own good.
Judith was
Sucks,
like, in
but
2
then it's
days, you'll
okay.
be fine.
No,
That's what I'm
I
hoping
didn't
for.
say that. I said the
In a
next day
month. No, just kidding.
I had all these symptoms, and then for 3 days my arm was swollen and I was hurting, and 3 or 4 days.
Okay. I'm expecting to wake up tomorrow, like brand new.
Yes.
Cross your fingers. Okay, have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay.